Photographing landscapes is not about just throwing on a wide-angle lens and taking the shot. Yes, the location is beautiful, but much like portrait photography, you want to take a picture of the person where you can really accentuate their features and nail that composition that really makes your photo pop. Because ultimately, you just want to make your photo interesting to the viewer. So follow these tips to get better landscape photos. And the last tip kind of feels like cheating, but we'll get to that. There are times when I show up to a location and there's just nothing there for me to photograph. Not saying that the location is bad or anything, or that there's not a photo there. It's just the things I look for in a good landscape photo are just lacking from that photo. The location could be the most beautiful place, but if there's nothing really to draw your eye in, then I don't take the photo. So what do I look for in a landscape shot? Well, the first one and the most obvious one is a subject. Because as I said before, much like portrait photography, you really want to accentuate the features of the location. The best landscape photos always have a definitive subject that draws your eye in. For example, I took this shot in Quebec, and the main thing that draws your eye in is the big bridge on the horizon that shows the skyline, and it's this big, massive open vista, and it looks great. But that's only one of the subjects in the photo. The other subject in the photo that I think really makes the photo interesting is the little, tiny little people that you see in the bottom, because you have this huge, massive bridge and this open area, and it looks, you know, cool, but those tiny little people really show the scale of the photo. It really puts it into perspective how big this whole area is. And those two subjects balance each other out. Tiny little people, massive bridge, and it kind of draws your eye in. Now that photo wouldn't be bad in summer, but if you did take it in summer, you wouldn't have the people walking across the frozen lake that really show the scale of the photo. So subject is super important. If you can find a great subject that really brings your photo together, look for that, because a big open landscape with no real defining features is kind of boring. I'm currently in the middle of something. You got anything to say? Super helpful. Okay, bye. Now, since we're on the topic of big, wide open shots, they don't always have to be like that. You can zoom in on a landscape shot. Don't be afraid to zoom in. If you can find something that's interesting, worthy of, you know, filling the frame with just that one subject, go for it. Because a big open landscape is great and all, but sometimes getting close to your subject or close to what you want your viewers to look at can be more intriguing than the entire scene. For example, this is a photo from photographer Lizzie Pierce. She has a YouTube channel. You can check it out. It's great. But this photo has snow blowing across the tip of the mountain. Now, that photo, in my opinion, would not have nearly the same effect as if you zoomed it out and just showed like whole mountain, because that little bit of snow blowing over the top would be completely lost. So there are times to shoot wide open and there are times to zoom in. And I say practice with both. Shoot big wide open shots, and then on that same photo, zoom in a little bit to your subject, and then get home, edit your photos, look at them, and then just kind of decide from there which one's more interesting. Now, if you really want to take a landscape shot of this beautiful location, but you have no subject or you just can't find the subject, look for leading lines, because a lot of the times, if you can find a good leading line and there's no subject in your photo, it'll still draw your viewer's eye across the whole photo. Even though there is no subject, they'll still look around at the photo. Now, leading lines can be rivers, they can be tree lines, any sort of thing like that that moves in a vertical motion. Horizontal works too, but generally looking into the center of the photo, I think works better. Now, if you show up to a location and you're really struggling trying to find a photo there, this next tip kind of feels like cheating, but a lot of cameras have overlays, like the grid overlay or the Fibonacci overlay. And even if your camera doesn't have this, oftentimes editing programs do, so you can cut and crop your photos with the overlay. Now, the reason why I say these kind of feel like cheating is because it's like a little cheat sheet that you put over top of your camera. So when you go to compose a shot, you can line up your subject perfectly on those intersecting lines or on the Fibonacci spiral, and that probably will be a good photo. And tons of old art can be broken down into the Fibonacci sequence. So if you can adapt that into your own photography, it's basically like bringing a cheat sheet with you and just putting it over top of your camera and taking a photo. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you can line up your subjects on the back of your LCD screen without any grids or guides or anything, and you'll just kind of know it. But if you're struggling, try it out. Trust me, you'll love it. And another thing, I would love to see you guys back here hanging out in another video, so subscribe. I'd love to see you guys back. I hope these tips helped you. I hope you can adapt these into your photography and take amazing landscape shots. So, you guys have a good one. Peace.